Welcome everyone to the next instance of the developer meeting. Today is the 11th of August, and although it's vacation time, we still have some committee member here in the meeting. I would like to kick off the meeting with an announcement because we discovered recently that with the latest version of Keptn, one of the latest version of Keptn, we introduced a regression or a behavior change that was now documented for when you have multiple remote execution planes. In the past, you could register, for instance, the Helm service in a remote execution plane in multiple different ones using the same name for the integration. However, while working on the zero downtime, we did some changes in order to allow a pod to be rescheduled in different nodes. And hence, we use the instance name as a primary key, let's say, to identify any integration in Keptn. Hence, we recommend users that have multiple remote execution planes to have for each integration in a separate remote plane, have a different name for that. And if you want to change the name of your integration, you can do that via the case, the deployment name, environmental variable of your integration. Or if you're using the SCP connector library, you can just change the name while you're calling the method that does the registration. And that's the announcement of today. Sorry for this breaking change that we forgot to highlight. We changed the release note to make it still available, however. But with that, I will hand over to the first.
All 0.18?
It would, yes.
Is this all 0.18?
No,
not
it's
17.
from 16, 17, and 18 are affected.
Okay.
And I will provide an update on the documentation later today or tomorrow latest.
Okay. Oh, you do it? Okay, you don't want me to do it? Go for it.
No, I already prepared. I just need to finish it.
Okay, did you find the file? I moved the file on you.
Oh,
it's
God.
under install.
Okay.
I think it's still named the same thing.
I need to check because I started that yesterday and then I get over it and then I will try to finish today. If I cannot find things, then I will reach out to you, Meg.
Okay.
Thank you. Then I will hand over to you, Andre. Oops.
Thank you. I'll share my screen. So hopefully you're receiving. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, some couple of things made in the last 2 weeks by the team. The first one is adapting the pipelines on the future removal of JMeter and Helm services from the Keptn core repository. Basically, we want to move these two services to a separate repositories, so they will be maintained outside of Keptn core. So the first step was removing all these services from the pipelines. So after removing the code itself, we won't have any problems with builds, CI, and so on. If you want, you can go through the pull request, but basically it's just removal process from multiple workflows. Yeah, nothing much to say about it. The second issue was migrating the quality gates integration test to a faster component test. We have some failure use cases in the integration test for the quality gates, so for the Lighthouse service and for the evaluation. Therefore, we wanted to migrate these tests to a faster component test to test just the functionality of the Lighthouse service, which was successful. And afterwards, we removed the tests from the integration test. It basically decreased the running time for the integration test for around 7 to 8 minutes, which is a lot. And we're speaking about a decrease from like 40 minutes to around 30 minutes run. yeah, if you want to know, you can just go through the pull request. Most cases, there is just some minor refactorings in the Lighthouse service and creating a new main test go where the tests are located. Another issue was a small one, removing the configuration service Kubernetes service. As we recently moved for the resource service, we still had a Kubernetes service named as a configuration service. So we just remove it together with the airbags, with the service accounts and role bindings to it. So the service just disappeared. And from now on, only the resource service, Kubernetes service, will be used in the Keptn. Yeah, and last thing was a bug fix. We had recently a problem when updating an integration in the shipyard controller, for example, webhook that does not have subscriptions or has a nil subscriptions. It was basically not able to update a nil subscriptions field in the whole integration. So we are now testing if the integration has subscriptions equal to nil. And if yes, we do not update only the subscriptions field, but also the whole integration with the appropriate subscriptions. So from now on, this bug is not an issue. Basically, without this fix, when this problem occurs due to some reason, migrations or whatever, you're not able to upgrade the integration or the subscriptions in the integration. So that's not usable anymore. For example, when creating a webhook, which should subscribe to different URLs. Yeah, that's more or less all from my side. Are there any questions? I guess no. So handing over to Klaus.
Thanks. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's go to the bridge part. So first, we fixed the bug regarding the webhook and creation and updating. There was a bug that the values that are used for the headers were sent with name value properties instead of key value. This was then a problem in the for the webhook service because there are unknown properties because instead of key name was sent by by the client. And this is fixed now. So if you create now, for example, a custom webhook, you can now see if you create a subscription, it is correctly sent with key value instead of name value. Yeah, and this is fixed now. Yeah, this was previously not found, not visible because we used the same interface, client and server side, but there were some form controls with type any, and that's why this bug did not come up earlier. Yeah, so this payload is fixed now and the webhook is correctly created. Then to the next thing, we now use the new line chart component Heinz implemented. So now if D3 is enabled with the D3 enabled flag, you can now also switch to chart and have the new line chart here. Yeah, I don't have nice evaluations here, but now this one is also our own component with D3 instead of high charts. Yeah, that's to that. So we're now using both charts for instead of high charts. Then the next thing, yeah, we improved some visualization for the result for the SLI breakdown. Previously, we just showed a message that the score represents a portion of the total score for an indicator result. And now we also explain the fail and the warning message. So if, for example, the score is null, then we also have the error here, or the in red, the message that the score is set null because it failed. And also for warning, if it is warning, then the result is the score is halved. We also documented this now in the document page under concepts and quality gates, and there we also state how this score is calculated and how warning and failed affects the score. Yeah, so this is now also adjusted. Yeah, and better visualized with an underline that there is a overlay available. Yeah, then the next thing was part of a refactoring task or a bit of performance task. Previously, the evaluation was the evaluation details you see here also showed also has the heat map inside, and previously for this overlay we fetched 50 evaluations which were not necessary because we don't show the heat map here, and only if we show the heat map, all the data should be aggregated and fetched. And now as you can see, there is no additional check. If you hover over it, there is no loading, there's just showing this evaluation and don't fetch 50 other ones. Yeah, and this is now split. And yeah, much less API calls for that one, except if there are if there is an indicator result which does not have the compared value, which was introduced in 0.12, then it fetches the compared events as necessary for the compared values. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Are there any questions? If not, then I'm handing over to Bernd.
So Bernd cannot join this meeting, but I can say some words about what he has been working on. So share my screen. Community meeting. Here we are. So Bernd worked on the second half of what Andre already presented about moving out of Helm Geometry in their own repository under the Keptn contrib repository organization. And here we removed this integration from our test because we want to test this integration in their own repositories. So the integration tests do not reference anymore Helm Geometry. Then you also prepare a bit of refactoring for the shipper controller, where the package structure has been changed, so it's easier to add new files or extend functionality because everything is now into its own proper package instead of having one big folder full of files. And then he also started to work on this inbound event validation. So you might know that Keptn provides this post/event endpoint where anyone can send events into Keptn from a remote execution plane, but we don't take any assumption how, or we don't try to validate these events. And what Bernd tries to do is for each event type that is well known in Keptn, so based on our specification, we can assume some sort of structure on these events. Hence, we can try to provide a bit of validation for these well-known events. And what it does is to work over the events that Keptn understands and try to provide some specific validation for that. This can be enabled, disabled by a Helm value. So if you're using events not according to our specification or 100% to our specifications, your integration might fail. So we want to enable this by default, but if it causes any problems to your installation, you can disable via event validation dot enabled, and they can set it to false. Any question for this? Okie dokie, looks like no. Then I think Adam or Meg, the stage is yours.
And it looks like Adam wasn't able to join, so I will be virtual Adam for a moment. Come on, there we go. And I can share my screen. He has filed 3 tickets, and they're tickets for discussion, so maybe we should just point out. If anybody's not aware, we have a new Get Started with Keptn tutorial. It's under Explore Keptn because Quick Start is taken by something else. I think it's vastly superior. It uses killer coda, so they don't have to. You open it up, and it just starts installing. Oh, we have to sign into it. Okay, so you won't get to see it. In any event, once you're signed in, it just starts. It does an installation. There's nice text for people to read. It takes about 3 minutes to get everything installed. And it goes into a lot more about Keptn. I think it's a good end-to-end. When you're done, you actually know a little something about it. We are left with these old tutorials, which I believe were last updated for Keptn 11. There's, I guess the 2 main ones are the full tour on Prometheus and the full tour on Dynatrace. The new one really does it. It does just Prometheus. I talked to the Dynatrace people, and they're going to go off. They're going to use Killer Keptn and do a real Dynatrace one that will have some Dynatrace features in it too. So they're off, because our feel was that for the principles of Keptn, it doesn't matter what for this quickie, it doesn't matter what your data source is. You get the principles of how you do it. So we have that. We have a second one filed for the resources section of some things. It's sort of just old stuff. It's time to clean up. And we have one more is what to do with the quick start, which again, it's using Sock Shop. I don't know that anybody's getting it to work. People are coming in and they're showing up on the help station. The other thing we're doing in the background, what we realized is that a lot of people are using these tutorials not as tutorials, but because they're the only place that we give a sequential list of steps that one can run to install or to create a project. So that's being done also. That will be available. So I don't know, we could discuss here, or we could just make that available to everybody and we can discuss asynchronously in the Jira ticket. Does anybody have words of wisdom? Oh, were you not seeing my screen? Sorry, I was over there blithely thinking I was sharing my screen. You guys did not see what I showed you, right?
No, we didn't, unfortunately.
Sorry about that. And that is not working. Well, the links for the 3 issues are in the agenda, so you can look at it. I think I guess the question is, I don't know who all might care about those. They don't work. It's hard for me to see a justification for keeping them. We have something else new and better that works, but there's people all over who love my impression is they love having the title and they haven't looked at them lately to see what the contents are, but I'm being cynical, so.
Meg, I think when it comes to tutorials, there we should then now guide the users towards a killer coder. I think having a banner there that states that those are outdated and the new tutorials will be provided using a new framework is definitely already a good idea to help the users and to not let them play around with outdated or old tutorials with Keptn 0.11.
Yeah. So we've done that, but can we just remove them from the site? Is that legit? Or that takes more?
The question is a little bit whether there are still references towards the tutorials, and if we break them when we are going to delete them. I mean, quite of them are old and not relevant anymore. When I think about Keptn 0.8 or 0.7, they are from yesterday. But those that are about a half a year old, here we might have some still active.
And
Maybe we could change the layout to say this website is being deprecated. Please go over Killer Coda. So we keep the website still alive for a while, but we notify the user that they should move towards the new platform.
that's a good idea. And the quick start is a link in the documentation. So if we just renamed that section there, they would get there. The one that we've got. We'll have more coming, but yeah, that would work. If we preserve, so their links would work. If they get there, they'll just find that and they'll get redirected.
Mm-hmm.
And is it okay? Can we just go ahead and do that, or does it need to be run by more people? I don't know who all might have an interest in it.
I mean, I don't see any investments that are currently ongoing in the old tutorials, and instead of leaving a community member on an old tutorial, I think it's better to guide them directly to the new ones. And in other words, let's do it as soon as possible so that we don't have a frustrated community.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, we will get to that quickly. Can somebody else, since I don't know why it lets me, it won't, it says we can't share your screen after I do it. For just mine, I want to take a quick look at two reference pages that I'm working on.
I can share
someone
the
leave
screen
me
for
in
you.
share?
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. And then, oopsie, and you're on Explore Keptn. Back to the agenda, and there's a link to the pull requests. There we go. We have two. We're still working on these reference pages, and we're waiting to know exactly what the capabilities will be of the new doc engine. I think everybody's sense is for cloud events and values.yaml, and maybe most of them. It's in the software, and I mean, I can copy from the software and put them in the documentation, and I can do that repeatedly and try to keep them in sync. And we all know how well that's going to work. So what I've got right now for these two, for cloud events, is in place of synopsis, I've got spec, and that is a link that takes them into the real one in the software. I am hoping with the new tools that we will be able to just pull something in. If not, we may want to do like we do with CLI and author the reference page in the software repository. So there you see, you get the specification, and then I added some usage notes. And we have the differences between versions, and we have the C also, which I think, I mean, at least for those people who don't live in the code all the time, at least they don't have to go sliding through the code trying to find what the spec is. Does that look okay? Now the second one, the values.yaml, gets a little more complicated, but it's just a question of what to do in the interim, and then we figure it out for the long haul. For that one, I had actually started out, I actually did copy the whole spec into the synopsis, and then I decided, no, we won't do this. But what I had also done was started a list, because as I look at the spec, a lot of those fields, I don't instantly know what they are, or I want to know what the range of file values is. And I don't know if we need to document every single one of them I started out, it's like, okay, we can give them a sentence about what each section is about, which will have a link to the docs that talk about that feature. So, and I don't know, I'll probably have to work with Mo to figure out. It may be that there's only a few of these that users regularly interact with, and that's all we want to describe, because actually having this whole list, we're in almost as much trouble for maintenance.
I think it's very hard for a user
except
to
they do.
go over this list. In the backlog, we have also a ticket to create a table automatically out of the value.yaml file for documentation purposes. We were investigating some tools that can just read this YAML file and automatically generate a table for documentation purposes. Maybe when we get to the ticket, we can reach out to you, Mike, to maybe improve this.
Good, yeah, and see what the new doc engine's going to do.
Yeah.
So I would be nice to get something up there for now. If the one thing I really want to do, squirrel down this one, the important thing on this one is all that marvelous writing that Mo did for all the changes in 0.17 are in the update guide to update to 17. And I just copied those over lock, stock, and barrel at the end. But so we will have a record of exactly what those changes were. Because as soon as somebody goes to 18, they're not going to see the 17 upgrade instructions. And that was pretty major. So I think so for now, I should just delete out all those descriptions, all the individual descriptions, and we'll just have a very bare bones one that will link to the spec. We'll give them a couple of usage notes, and we'll have the differences between versions. And we put, does that work? It's a bit of chaos for a couple of months as we're trying to get stuff reorganized for the new doc engine, but we don't have the new doc engine in place, and we don't know all the details of what it will do. So a little bit of chaos trying to install. So that works for everybody?
I will say yes for me.
Okay. I will go ahead and change the PR, and then somebody can look at it in more detail to see if, and maybe somebody may have suggestions for additional usage notes, trying to, my definition of these reference pages is I read the guide when I'm new to this and I learning how to do things. Then once I know what I'm doing, this is a place where I can look something up quickly, the stuff that I need to look up quickly. So, but of course people look at it maybe when they don't have enough background. So, but since I've had the shipyard file, there have been several questions that have come up that I've got, we add that to the shipyard file. So. Okay. Thank you very much. Those are my issues.
Okie dokie. Then I think we run out of item in the agenda. Any questions from the audience or from the chat? There is nothing. Then I will close the meeting here. Thanks everyone for joining and for presenting your work. Have a great day and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.